Just before we get into this video, guys, if you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, the links are here. And if you also want to support me on Patreon as well and help out my channel, that would be absolutely awesome as well. But let's get on with the video. Hey guys, it is Wingy here and welcome to a brand new video. So before we get into today's video, I just want to make you guys aware, in case you didn't see, there was a problem with the End of Time reaction. So it is on Facebook, so there's a link in my previous video in the description of that. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's on my Facebook page, because fuck the BBC. But the purpose of today's video is to talk about how I got into Doctor Who. Now this is a video suggestion via Patreon from Harry Gamble White. So first and foremost, thank you very much to you for not only supporting me on Patreon, and I assume the channel as well, but for also suggesting this video. And I think it's a nice little cool idea as well, because obviously I talk about Doctor Who from time to time. It's kind of something that I do. So I guess it's nice to sort of just share with you guys like how I got into it and some of my earliest memories of the show as well. So I think I've said before, I was never a classic series fan initially. In fact, I didn't even know it existed. All I knew back in 2005 was that there was this new show that my parents used to watch. I didn't really know too much about Doctor Who. I was only 10 years old at the time when the series came back, so I wasn't really old enough to remember any of the classic era, even Paul McGann. I was only like, what, 1 when that came out? But I think my earliest memory of something Doctor Who related, now I don't know if this is actually real, I don't know if I've made this up, but I do have a vivid memory in my head of watching this thing on TV. Now I don't know if it was an advert, I don't know if it was a spoof in a comedy show. I literally have no idea. All I vividly remember is seeing Daleks in a shopping centre, and it was definitely on TV, it wasn't in real life. They were sort of going around chasing people. I think it might have been for the 40th anniversary, possibly, because I think I would have been around 8 at that time. If anyone knows what that was, it probably was something to tie in with the 40th anniversary, but Daleks in a shopping centre. If you can find it or you know what it is, let me know, or if I just made it up, I don't fucking know. But after that, obviously the series came back. Now I didn't really watch series 1 as a whole as it came out. I remember watching certain episodes sporadically throughout, but that series of Doctor Who, I didn't really sit down and watch it. If it was on, obviously my parents and other members of my family, they would watch it, and I found myself enjoying it more and more. I think by the time it got around to Dalek, that's when I was sort of like, yeah, I actually really like this. But then came the episodes that I've spoken about before, and I've spoken about how much they impacted me as a kid. The moment I knew I would be a Doctor Who fan was watching The Empty Child and The Doctor Dancers. Main reason being, they scared the shit out of me, but I had to keep watching. Like, there was something about the program that I was watching, even though it was scaring me so much, to the point that it freaked me out that I wouldn't watch it for another 2 years after. I just had to sit and watch. I had to keep seeing what was happening. So then by the time you get to the end of series 1 and the Doctor starts regenerating, I'm just like, whoa, 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 hang on a minute. Why is he now on fire? What's that about? I didn't know what the hell it was. I didn't know if the Doctor was teleported away. I didn't know if he regenerated, which is obviously what did happen. If this was a totally new character now, like, I had no idea what was happening. It's going to be interesting to see now what kids think of regeneration if they hadn't seen a previous Doctor before, or they didn't know that that was a concept. Because let's be honest, there are probably kids now who are watching Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker being their first Doctor. When she inevitably leaves, how are they going to react? It's a really, really strange feeling when you don't actually know what is going on. So that's pretty much how I became a new series fan. But let's talk about the classic series, because I think that's where my true fandomness words. I think that's when I became a true fan, a proper fan, the fan that I am now. I mean, the amount of Tom Baker related shit in my house, it's kind of obvious I prefer the classic series at this point. So I think I've told this story before as well, but obviously Sarah Jane came back in series 2, and I really liked her. I thought she was such a great character. I mean, she still is now when you look back at all her previous stories, the Sarah Jane Adventures, all of that. Elizabeth Sladen was wonderful, and I remember liking her so much that I think during the week after, I was in Tesco with my mum, and then they had the Hand of Fear there. I spoke about my feelings towards that story a few times now. So yeah, picked that up and got that on DVD. And then I watched it, and it was so exciting seeing how Doctor Who used to be, seeing how the Doctor used to be, seeing how the TARDIS used to be, and the title sequence, and what the special effects and what the aliens were like. And then eventually when I would get more stories, what were the Daleks like, what were the Cybermen like, what was the Master like? And it was just that sort of journey that I went on sort of every week, going and picking up a new DVD. So after the Hand of Fear, it was Earthshock. I remember going into WH Smith in Stockport, because they used to sell DVDs upstairs in there, and they had Earthshock there, and I picked it up and I watched that, and I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Obviously this was the first version of the Cybermen that I had ever seen, like before they came back, so I remember being disappointed in the new series when I saw those Cybermen, because they weren't the same as the Cybermen that I'd just seen in Earthshock that I loved. And those Cybermen are really great. Their voices aren't funny or stupid. They're not weird. People might be thinking, what the hell am I on about? There's one person watching this who's made some not very nice comments about the Earthshock Cybermen to me recently, and I wanted to single them out and just say, they're not fucking weird, are they, Becky? People are going to think, what the fuck am I on about? So then after that, I would go and make sure that I got a story from each of the Doctors, because even if I didn't like them, I wanted to make sure that I saw at least one story. So I go and get a McCoy story in Remembrance of the Daleks. I go and get a John Pertwee story, which was the Three Doctors, was the first one of his I saw, I think. And it just sort of spiraled from there, and I started going to conventions. Like, that's where I met Tom Baker. I met the woman who plays Jackie Tyler as well, whose name has just evaporated out of my head. And I'd meet up with other Doctor Who fans, you know, meet him at these events who were also dressed up in costumes and whatnot. Seeing Daleks trundle around the NEC at Birmingham. Talk to the people at the stalls at these Comic Cons about their love for Doctor Who and which stories they liked, which new stories should I check out, well, at least new to me at the time. I was just absorbing everything, like everything that was coming out, whether it was brand new episodes with David Tennant, whether it was going and getting DVDs, whether it was going out and meeting new people at events, whether it was going to these events themselves, whether it was reading Doctor Who magazine, whether it was putting on my dressing gown and a scarf and turning my living room into the TARDIS console room and me playing with my K9 talking back and forth to him because I was a real fucking sad kid. I say sad, I was very happy pretending to be the fourth Doctor in my living room with a little K9 and going, yes, we must stop the Daleks, K9, and all this sort of loser shit. Yeah, I am a loser, really. The off chance of just watching a TV show that my parents used to watch and seeing what it was like now, me sort of joining in with that, just started a domino effect of me just falling into this world even more. And look, regardless of what I think of Doctor Who now or in the last few years when I have heavily criticised it, particularly during Capaldi's run, my love for the show has definitely diminished in the last few years. I'm not going to deny that, but I think I will always remember falling into it and falling in love with it and being as passionate about it as I was, because it was ridiculous. Like, it literally got to a really addictive place. Every week I had to buy a new DVD. I had to see a new story. I had to sit down and watch like 7 stories a day. I had to be wearing my scarves. I had to get a new action figure. That was exciting as well when the character option figures started coming out. Like, literally, when I was growing up as a kid, it was the perfect time to be a Doctor Who fan. Regardless of what you think of it now, back then it was massive. Walking into Toys R Us and just seeing the big fuck off sign with David Tennant and Daleks and the TARDIS, and then like this massive plethora of toys, you know, like remote control TARDISes and sonic screwdrivers and remote control K9s and the 5-inch figures of the 10th Doctor and Slitheen and Rose and Jack and the Daleks and Cybermen. And look, regardless of where Doctor Who goes now, I don't think that feeling will ever be replicated for me. It doesn't matter if this era of the show or the next era of the show will be the greatest ever. For me, that roller coaster ride, it's not going to get topped. So I think, yeah, me becoming a Doctor Who fan was just seeing everything. It was like everything was the right place at the right time. You know, more and more classic DVDs coming out, new episodes on TV, action figures, conventions, magazines. Doctor Who was everywhere. And I think some people, whilst they understand it is a big thing, I don't think they understand how big, in the UK at least, Doctor Who really was in the mid-noughties. However, I will still never ever forgive my mum for denying me the opportunity to go to Blackpool when David Tennant was switching on the lights. That really fucked me up. The exhibition in Blackpool, I didn't even talk about that. I remember going to that as well. That was amazing. The actual lights just outside it as well, they were Doctor Who lights. I remember the lights had Daleks and Cybermen and the TARDIS in them and all that sort of stuff. Then the exhibition itself, I mean, that's where I got my Colin Baker figure because they didn't have it anywhere else. And then I remember outside the exhibition they had Bessie, and then inside they had a TARDIS console and all these different props and whatnot. Yeah, there's just so much. I mean, there's books as well, Big Finish. There is literally so much that got me into Doctor Who, and I think it was just a simple case of being the right age at the right time in the right place. Because I think if you were in America, for example, or not the UK, basically, around sort of 2005, 6, 7, I don't think I would have fallen in love with Doctor Who the same way that I did. It really, really was a special time, and I always look back to them with great fondness, like those times. Great fondness, because if you experienced it, you know what I mean. If you didn't, then I can't really put it into words, but that is how I became a Doctor Who fan. You know, Doctor Who is one of those shows where it's more than just a TV show. So when people come up with these arguments like, oh, well, why are you complaining? Why are you getting so invested? Blah, blah, blah. It's just a TV show. I mean, that's a whole video in itself, I think, talking about that argument, but I just loathe that argument. It's just a TV show. You know what? Some people it isn't. Some people it's more than that. And Doctor Who, prime example of something that isn't just a TV show. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video, guys. In the comments below, let me know how you got into Doctor Who, whether it was through a friend, whether it was through books or the show itself, or whatever it was, just let me know. Thank you again to Harry Gamble White for your video suggestion. And like on Patreon as well, I am starting to do a bit more. I am going to start doing more reviews on there and maybe more Patreon exclusive videos, and of course suggest video ideas to me. I mean, it takes me a while to get round to them because I do have a long list of videos to do, and I was ill and I'm doing this and the end of time reaction went wrong, so hopefully I'm getting back on track now. But yeah, if you do want to suggest a video to me in the future, then Patreon, that is where to do it. And who's to say that you can only suggest one? Like, if you support me on Patreon and you want to suggest a video, as long as you're a patron, keep suggesting video ideas to me, because fuck me, I may need it soon. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on it. Social media links and Patreon in the description, so go follow me on any of them. Subscribe for more, and if you do any of those things, I would love you forever. But until next time, guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye. What the fuck are you doing? What? What? Camera? What are you doing? What is this? What sort of shithousery was that? What the... Has that been on my thing the entire fucking time? Have I just done a video in a dirty hood? Oh, fuck's sake. I'm not filming it again. Fuck it, I can be a tramp. Why not?